Good morning, guys. In today's video I'll be sharing with you how you can be able to create this social media dashboard using HTML and Tailwind CSS. So this social media dashboard will be a dashboard that will be responsive, and we're going to be learning how we can be able to utilize what we call grids in Tailwind CSS, so you can be able to create a responsive admin dashboard. So without so much ado, let's get this started. So what I'm just going to do first of all is to create the project folder, and I'm just going to head on to the desktop, and in the desktop I've created a folder named challenge. So this is where I have all the daily challenges, all the daily coding challenges that I'm doing. And here I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm just going to call it admin dashboard, like so. And so this will be our main project folder. And so now inside here I'm going to have all the files that we need for this specific project. So what I usually do is I just click on this specific path here, and then I type CMD. There are different ways you can open your project folder, but in my case I usually like following this specific procedure, because what I intend to do is to open this project folder with my IDE, which is Visual Studio Code. So here I'm just going to come and type code and then the prelude. So this is because I'm using Visual Studio Code as my IDE or text editor. So after typing code and then full stop, I'll just hit enter. And what that does is that automatically it opens the IDE, the Visual Studio Code, with the project folder. So there are different ways you can be able to achieve that, but that's how I do it. It's not a must that you do that to achieve what we are doing right now. So now after doing that, the next thing that I want to do is to install Tailwind CSS. So just give me a minute as I connect my laptop to the internet. Well, now that I'm connected to the internet, the reason as to why I'm connecting to the internet is because for you to be able to install Tailwind CSS, you need to be connected to the internet. So I'm going to open my browser here, which is Brave. Of course, again, you can use whichever browser that you have. So now, for whatever reason, I just like going direct to the Google search engine, and here I can just type Tailwind CSS. I'll tap on the first suggestion that appears here. Well, now this opens the Tailwind CSS official website, and all I need to do is to head on to the docs over here. So this takes me to the documentation. So it takes me through the different ways that I can be able to get started with Tailwind CSS in terms of installation. And I'm just going to head on down here under the installation here. And you see we have different ways that we can be able to get started with Tailwind CSS. In our case, we will go with the Tailwind CLI, but one of the simplest one is the pre-CDN. So I'm just going to quickly take you through the process of installing Tailwind CSS. So as you can see, we have these steps. So we have how many steps? Let's see, 5. Yeah, 5 steps. So we're going to go through the 5 steps of installing Tailwind CSS. So the first thing will be to install the Tailwind CSS via npm and also create our Tailwind config file. So let's first of all install Tailwind CSS via the npm. So what we just need to do is to come and grab this specific line. So this specifically just installs the Tailwind CSS using the npm. So That's because there are also other ways that you can be able to install Tailwind CSS, not just using the npm. So I'm going to head on back to my Visual Studio Code here, and I'm going to, within this project folder, open the terminal. So say new terminal, and that should open down here. I should wait for it to show me the path within where I have my project folder. As you can see now, we have that path. That's very important. So I'm just going to paste that specific line and hit enter, and now just wait for the Tailwind to be installed. This may take some few moments depending on the speed of your internet. So I'm just going to pause this so that we are back when it's done, just to save on time. I'm back here, and as you can see, we have installed at least 112 packages in a minute. And as you can see on my left here, I have several modules that have been installed. All of this is what we need. You don't need to care about what that is. Just understand that that's Tailwind. It will be working in the background to help us to style our work. We also have the package lock.json, and we also have the package.json. So those files will be using them, but not like directly. So the next thing that we need to do is to now install the tailwind.config.js. These files just helps us to be able to further customize and, if I may say so, personalize how we want the what we are creating to look like beyond the normal appearance. So we'll be seeing one of the things that we can work, or how we can be able to work with tailwind.config.js. So for now, let's just have it installed, and it's just grabbing that line and having it here, the npx tailwind initialization. So basically it's like we're initializing a Tailwind and at the same time installing the tailwind.config.js. So it's a very important file. Of course, again, it's not a must that you use it, but it's a must that you have it installed. But where you're going to use it in terms of personalizing and extending beyond what we have normally, that's up to you. So as you can see, that has been installed here, the tailwind.config.js. It's important that I open it, because we're going to use it just to edit a few lines. So this is what we've just installed, and it's very important because now the next step will involve configuring our template paths. So add the paths to all of your template files in your tailwind.config.js. This is because how Tailwind works is it will be scanning the HTML and the JavaScript code that you have, and then it will be able to see if we have any Tailwind classes, and if there are any Tailwind classes, it's going to like process them and create an output.css file that is going to be used now to style your specific website. So for that, we need to tell it where our HTML markup is and where our JavaScript is. So to be able to do that, we're going to just grab this line. They have provided it for us here, so just to make it easy for us. So I'm now going to head on back to the tailwind.config.js, and I'm going to remove that and replace it with that line. So basically I'm just telling it that it should go to a folder called CLC or SLC, and within there it should be able to get some HTML and some JavaScript. For now we don't have that yet, but we'll be creating it. So it will be going to this HTML markup, scanning all the Tailwind classes that will be lighting there, creating an output file, and that output file will be used to style our website. So that being said, therefore, we can move on to the next step, that is the third step, which now involves adding the Tailwind directives for each of the Tailwind layers to your main CSS. So this again, they will be helping us now to be able to now style and also be able to create the output .css. So these are very important to be included in your Tailwind installation process. Otherwise, if you don't have them there, then Tailwind will not be able to work. And so how we are going to do that, first of all, is to come to our main project folder, and here we are going to create one other folder. We can call it CLC or SLC, sorry, and that's because that's what we have here. If you have to have this folder with a different name, then you also have to come and change it here, because this way you're going to have the HTML which will be scanned. So I'm going to have that folder created, and now that folder is empty for now. So we just need now to create a new file within that, the SLC, and we can call it input.css. So it is now inside here that we are going to put this, so the Tailwind. So now, having created that, we're just going to come and grab this, and we're going to have that within this file. So basically this will be helping us to do the styling. If we don't have this, then it will not be able to scan all our HTML, all our utility Tailwind utility classes. So we're done with that, so don't mind about those errors there. It's just there by default, but there's a way to go around that, but we're not going to look at that for now. So now that we have all that, we can now move on to the other step, and that is learning the CLI tool to scan our template files for classes and build the CSS. So that's this now where the work starts. Now that we have told Tailwind CSS where it should get the HTML, and we have all the Tailwind components, bases, and utilities that we need, now we can go ahead and do the scanning, which is what basically Tailwind will be doing, looking for HTML markup and scanning for classes. So to be able to do that, first of all, remember we said that we are scanning for HTML, so we need to have a HTML file within this specific path. So what I'm going to do first of all is to head on back to here, the SLC, and I'm going to create another file, and I'm going to call it index.html. So basically I'll be telling it, come here and scan for files, or scan for Tailwind classes, and use that to style my website. So we're going to kind of work in a backwards manner, because first of all we'll be scanning it even if we don't have anything in that HTML thing, but it's not a problem. Once the HTML files are available, they'll just be scanned. So I'm just going to grab this, and you notice that we have this flag at the end, the watch. So this basically means that Tailwind will continuously look for the newly added Tailwind classes in your HTML markup. If you don't have this, you'll have to always learn this specific line, but with the watch at the end of this specific line, therefore means that Tailwind will continuously scan for any new class that you have added. So I'm going to grab this, and once that's copied, I'm going to head on back to the Visual Studio Code, and here again in the terminal, I'm going to paste that line and hit enter. So now what it's doing is scanning for utility classes within the HTML, and as you can see, once it has done that, it realizes that we have no utility classes, because remember our index.html is empty. So given that it's empty, that's why it says that we have no utility classes. But notice that there is one important thing that has happened. an output.css file has been created. So this is where all the utility classes will be compiled now to help it to style the website according to the utility classes that it has scanned, and those are the utility classes that we typed within the HTML markup. So now we are now going to have some markup and some utility classes, and then we see how that's going to work. So I'm going to just head on back here, and just to make our things easier, I'm just going to come and grab this simple markup here. So just copy that. You can type it, or if you have it already, just use it. So I'm just going to grab that, and I'm going to have that here. And now you're going to see, because we have the wash at the end, it is continuously looking for anything newly added to this HTML, and it has already rebuilt that, created an output, and it has already determined that we have some utility classes, and that's why we don't have a warning this time loud, because we have these utility classes that it was able to scan, and all that has been compiled aloud here. Of course, this is a lot more, because now we also have the defaults and everything else, but including what we have in our markup around here. So now we are even done with this. We can just have it hidden over there. So now we are done with the installation of Tailwind CSS. Now we are on the testing stage. So to be able to comfortably work with the Tailwind CSS, and especially when you would want to like continuously see how the Tailwind classes are being impacting, or how they're impacting your website, it's good to install something that we call an extension that we call a live server. I already have it installed, but I'm just going to take you through how you can be able to have that installed. And all you just need to do is to, if you're using Visual Studio Code, head on to the extension here, and then here you can search for live server, and then go with the first one, this one by Litwick Day. So this one, have it installed. So just click on install. It will be automatically, be installed automatically, sorry. And once that is installed, if I can head on back to this area here, you notice this button appearing here that you can hit to run the live server, or alternatively you can just right click the page that you want to run or open with the live server, right click that and say open with live server. So like for example, you can just hit on this, and what that will do is basically it will open your default browser with this specific or with the results of this specific code. So now that is opening there, I also need to have this side by side. That way we can be able to in real life see what we are coding. So let me just set up things here real quick. Sorry, have it there. And I'm also going to reduce that because we need to have this space being bigger. So now you notice that we have this hello world. We have it here. We have these utility classes. One is for the size. We are telling it to have it in 3XL, and there is also something else that we call Tailwind Intelligence. This is one that is helping me to be able to see this, if I may call it a count, that is helping me to understand these utility classes, because Tailwind has a lot of utility classes, and sometimes it can be overwhelming for you to understand all of them, or how they work, or even like when you're a beginner to be able to understand why am I writing these. So like for example with the text 3XL, basically you're having your font size being 1.875 rem and the line height being 2.25 rem, which is 30 and 36 pixels respectively. So we also have the font. So basically you're just determining the the weight, so you're just telling it to have a font weight of 700. So otherwise, if you're having this in CSS, this is how you would have it written: font bold and then weight 700. But instead of that, you just say font bold and automatically. And basically, of course, this is now the decoration where you're having it at the line. So basically, like if I remove that, you'll notice that that will be removed in that case. For example, if I want to reduce the size of the text, I can just say text XL, which basically means that I'm having this text with 1.25 lem and 1.75 lem respectively. So that's what we'll be doing basically. And now you can be able to learn about as many utility classes as possible that can help you to now style your website the way you would want. And all that is happening because, as you notice here within the head of our HTML, we have a link to the output.css. So we are linking this HTML with output CSS because, as I said, Tailwind will be scanning for these classes, and then they will be sort of compiled here. And so now HTML will be looking for CSS in this specific file because we have this included. So if this is not there, for instance, if I just have that removed, you notice that now I'm not going to have any styling over there. So that's also very, very important to have there. So now, for now, I'm just going to get rid of this so that now we can get started with the business of the day, and that's creating the social media dashboard. So without so much ado, let's have this started. So now what we are going to do first of all is to come to the body here, and the reason as to why I'm coming to the body here is because I just want to have a background color, and we'll be having both dark and light theme. And first of all, I may start things in a higher level, and it might be confusing a little bit, but I hope it will be simple for you. So for example, here I can just come and talk about BG slate. Let me have it maybe 100. So I should be having something like that. So that's on the right thing. And if I want to have the dark theme, I can just talk about dark and BG slate, and I can have this with 900. So you notice that right now, even if we have this BG here 100, it has decided to go with this one because in my system setting I have it with dark theme. But if you have it with light theme, things might be going on this other side. Okay. Alright, so what I'm just going to quickly do here is to click or have some comments that will give us an idea of what we'll be having. So we're going to have two sections here. So I'm going to name them like that. So that will be the first one. We can just say end, and we're going to have another section. Maybe I can call it let me have it as main, like that. So within this top section, the first thing that we want to achieve is this section here that you can see has a different color with the background. So let's have that. So it's basically creating a container, and maybe we can just have some text of top just so that we can be able to see what's happening there. And we're going to have the following utility classes. I usually like starting with flex. That way now I can be able to modify everything the way I want. and for instance, maybe I can have it with a height of 48, and right now we are not seeing anything because the BG is still the same. So maybe we can have it with a different BG. Let's give it a BG of maybe 800, and now you can see things have taken shape there. And I'm also going to have it louded bottom, so I'm going to say louded rounded bottom, and maybe that can be large. I don't know whether that's visible. Yeah, you can see that there, and that should be filling the whole screen. Yeah, so that's better, but let's see if we can increase the size a little bit, the height. 64 here. I think that should be better, comparing with what we have here. No. That's better. Let's just have it with 64. You can have it with 48 if that's working for you. Just for better understanding, I just like to have the code having that specific structure. So now every content within the top section now should appear in this specific div. So I'm going to have another div here, and within this div I'm now going to have these two. Sorry, I'm going to have this social media and this dark theme only. So to be able to do that, here I'm going to have some two divs, so I can say multiplied by 2, and within this I'm going to have 2 more. That is because 2. That is because here I want to come and have the name social media dashboard, and here I'm going to have the total followers. That should be 23,004. Alright, so of course that's just a dummy number. So you can see that information there. And now here lastly we're going to have the toggle button. For this one, just have the code here. I'll be providing it in the description of this video if you want to have it, but basically you can just grab any toggle button that you would like to have there. That's just to make things quick, because you can see it has a lot of utility classes. So let me align things a little bit here. Right, so now you can see they are both appearing in a column, but that's not what we want. We don't want them to appear in a column, and so I'm going to go to the parent div here, and I'm going to have the following utility classes. One is that they should flex, and they should flex in a low. As you can see, that makes them to flex in a low, but now they are too close to each other. We need one to be on this other end and this one to remain on this end, and for that we're going to use the utility class justify between. So we're going to have the space between. Yeah, for some reason that did not work, because let me see that they just let me try to have it with some width container. Alright, yeah, so I've just given it a width of 100%, as you can see, and that has solved things. And the other thing that I can also do is, you can see they are appearing too close to the margins, which is different from what we can see here. Sorry. So I need to have this margin, and I also need to have this margin here. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to talk about MY, which is margin top and bottom. So maybe I can decide to have it with 4. And as you can see, that has been moved like that. And for the margin right and left, I can decide to have it with 10. Let me see. Yeah, that's better. Let me see in full screen, because that's very important. Yeah, I think that should be it. If you want more space, of course you can just increase this value here. In fact, let me just have it with 8. So that's working fine over there, so we can proceed on. And so now what we are going to do is we are now going to style these two. So first of all, we're just going to say that this should flex in a column, and I'm also going to have them with some color. So on a white one, it should be select 800, and on dark we should have it with select 400. Sorry, text select 400. So that's better. Now we can style the individual one here. So this one we can talk about class, and maybe we can say that the text should be select. Let me make it a whitish. And I can also talk about the font being bold, that is the weight, and the size, maybe I can talk of 2XL. Alright, I think that should be looking fine there. So for this other one, we can talk about the text being small. Yeah, and yeah, it should just stay like that. So you can just leave it at that point. So now we have those two appearing there, and we have our toggle button. Well, so that's working fine. And so now the next thing that I'm going to do, now that the top section is done, is we're just going to go direct to the main section. And in the main section here, we're going to have the container that is going to wrap everybody. So in fact, just to make things a little bit clear here, I can maybe give it a class of, say, dark. That's because our theme currently is dark, so we can just start with dark. And maybe we can talk about select. Let me just talk about 200. We're going to remove this just for us to visualize everything, and we're going to just give it an MX of 8. Yeah, and now we want it to appear like it is on this specific section. Like you can see here, these cards are appearing like they are starting from this section, which is a different div from this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about negative margin top, and here maybe I can start with 10. Let's see how that works. 10, and that should push it like it's going to the other div. And let me just increase it a little bit, like 20 to about 30. 30. It's not working. Let's say 40. Yeah, 40 is a bit close. Yeah, should be. Let's just have it there. Alright, so we are not going to, of course, have it like that. That's just for us to visualize. So that's where the cards should start. Alright, so now we can now come inside here and we can have the div that's now going to have the specific cards. So in fact, for now, we can just get rid of that. And first of all, before we continue, we're going to say that the items here should be in a column, and they should also be at the center. So we say justify center. So now here we are going to utilize what we call the grid. And if I may just take a minute to just take you to Tailwind documentation, so that we can have maybe a clear understanding of grid. So we can just search for grid within the Tailwind documentation, and here you can see we have what we call the grid template, and we have it in rows and also columns. So this is a utility that will help you to specify the rows in a grid layout. And so here we have the class that you're going to have, and this is the property of how that is going to be impacted. And so for an example, in this basic use, we have specifying the rows in a grid, and basically they're just using the utility class grid row, and here you can determine the number of rows that you want. In this case, n is representing the number of rows that you want, and by using this utility you'll be able to create grids with n equal sized rows. So basically now you're going to have something that looks like this, and to even put that into a clear perspective, we have this code here that's helping you to understand how you should get things started. So first of all, we are having the parent div, and we're also having the child, and the children, of course, there. And then now in this main div, we're having the utility class grid, so that we just make things to be already in a grid. And then here you're telling it like how many rows that it should have in this specific grid, and you're also telling it how it should be positioned. Is it horizontally or vertically? So in this case, they're having it flow horizontally. So like you start from here, 1 2 3 4, then like that, then like that. So it has to fill a specific container before moving on to the other. And of course now we have the gap, which is the gap between the cards that you're going to have there. So you can go through the whole of this documentation, which is clear or easier to understand, and that way you can be able to implement that. And so that's what we'll be using here. Sorry. And so now I'm going to come here, and first of all I want to have this taking full width, let me say container, and I'm going to have things aligned at the center. So I'll say margin outer, and then I'm going to have the class utility grid. And in a mobile device or in a mobile sized device, items should be aligned one on top of each other. So it should just be like the cards being one on top of each other. So by just saying grid, we're able to achieve that. But now on a bigger device, we don't want that. We want items to be one next to each other. So in that case, what we are going to do is we're going to say on this break point of small, so we are targeting this specific break point small, we're just going to have a grid, and this one is going to have a maximum of 4 columns. So we say grid calls for. So we are saying on a small device we should have at least 4 cards, one next to each other. So once we have the cards, it will be easier for us to understand. And even looking at this picture, so this is what we are saying. On this specific size, we should have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. But once we reduce this size, we should only have 1, 2, like there should be 1 on top of each other. So all of these are going now to be aligned in a column like that. Alright, so we're going to say that, of course, practically. I'm just trying to give you a picture. And then after that, we should also have the gap in the spaces between them. And here we're just going to talk about 2. And we're also going to talk about px of 2, that is padding right and left. So I'm going to ignore the gap y2, so that we see how it usually fixes some issues that we are going to have if we have the code remain like this. So we're going to go back to that once we have the cards. So now that is there, we can now have the cards. So in fact, I can have a comment here and call it maybe cards. And so now here I'm going to have the first card. Of course, it should be within a container. And so the first thing that we want to achieve in this card is this top line that we're having here, and this one also. But before we have that, so that we can have a clear picture, let me just have it like this card, and I can have it with a class, and maybe here I can say flex call, so items will be in a column, and for the space between them, these items that will be in a column, the space top and bottom will be 2. For the BG, we on a white theme or a light theme, we should have it with white, but on dark theme we can talk about BG slate 800. Or rather, because we have these with 800, we can talk about 700. We should make it look like that. I don't like it as much though. Can we have this having 950? No. Oh yeah, darker. So that now this one can be 900. Darker. So that now this one, instead of being 700, it can be 800. That's better. So we are now going to say that on a small device, on a mobile device, it should have a width of full, and that is going to make it to fill the whole screen. And we should also now come and target the breakpoint MD, in which case, first of all, we are going to have the width being out. So we are going to have it as auto, so that way it's going to the cards that we're going to have, they are going to fit the available space. So even if there are few and we have a bigger space, the cards will be made big so that they can be able to, all of them fit the available space that we have. We should also have them with loaded MD. The text should be white. Yeah, and right now you can see in the card the item is just at the very left side, so we can talk about justify center. So that's meant to push it at the center, though it hasn't. Let me talk about py of 4 and maybe I can also have it with a shadow bottom of BG. No. LG. Yeah, it hasn't, this name hasn't moved to the center. That's because we just have it hanging, it's not within a div. So for example, if I'm not wrong, if I have it within a div like that, okay, it should be pushed to the center because I have the width as well. Alright, maybe I need to include not just justify center, because justify center is just going to have it here. I think justify center is going to have it around at the center horizontally, but if I include items center, yeah, that should have it at the center. So these two, the justify center and item center, is going to have the component aligned at the center vertically and horizontally. Alright, so things are taking shape real quick there. And so now that we have it like that, wait a minute, we need to have it with some width or rather some height. Alright, let's just proceed on. So I'm going now to remove that name card because now we need to utilize this container here. So this one is the one that is going to take the top line. So let's just style it. So we'll say width, sorry, we're going to give it a width of full, and we're going to give it a gradient background. So I'm going to talk about BG, and to have a gradient color we say BG gradient gradient, and then 2. So like we are sort of determining the direction that's going to take, how the two colors are going to appear. And so here we're going to say to right, and then the first color we're going to say it should be blue. So we say from blue, we're going to give it blue 500, and we're going to have 3 colors. So one at the right, and another one at the middle, and another one at the right. So the one at the middle will be the via blue, and we're going to have it with a different variant. And then 2, which is the last color, should also be blue, and this one will be blue 700. Alright, so we are not seeing anything yet because we have not determined the height, so we can give it a height of 2. That way now we should be in a position to see it there. And now you see it's at the middle, but we want it to appear at the very top. So we're going to say margin top, so negative MT of 4. So that should push it to the very end top. Yes, something like that though. And I should also now come and talk about rounded. I'm going to have it rounded at the top, so rounded top of MD. So we're going to have it like that, though I'm not impressed with how it is looking like, because it should cover the whole part. Right now we have Oh yeah, that is the one that was causing all the issue. The justify center, so it was like having it like moving to the center in some way, even if we are trying to have it with a margin top. So this class only should help us to have the items at the center, if I may test it there. Not quite, but we are going to see how we can fix that maybe in a minute. But for now, let's just have that utility class. That way we are going to have something like that. So for that div, we are not going to have anything inside it, so we just go below it, and we can include another div. And now it's within this div that we are going to have some icons and also some text. Like if we look at this, we have this icon and this text. So I'm just going to make things easier for us, and I'm going to just grab the icons in the finished project. Let me see, social media, forgetting that should be here. Oh yeah, so I just need to have these these icons, so I'm just going to grab all of them, and so we can have them within our project folder, that is admin underscore, and in this folder we're going to create another folder, and we can call it images, and we're just going to have our images pasted there. So there you go. So now in that case we can be able now to come here and include them. So for example, we can have two divs. One is going to have the image, so I'm just going to say img, and the source should be images, and the first one we're going to take is Facebook. So we have it there and it's appearing at the center, so things are working fine. So means that class worked for us. So here we are going to have the text. So yeah, just some dummy text. It doesn't have to be anything serious. So now that being done, we can style this a little bit. So have the items flex, and they should flex in a call just like they are doing. But for the space between them, we can talk about 2, and we want them to be at the center, so we can talk about justify center, items center. So yeah, that should have them like that. Very good. And we should have it with a padding top of 4, so that way we don't have them being too close to the top. So PT of 4, if that worked, or rather let me just give it 3. All right, so we have that there. And so now the next thing that we're going to have is just below this, have another div, even if you're not going to style it. And here we're going to have a h1, and here we're going to have just a specific number of like the followers. We're going to style it in a minute. Let me also have this coming down there, and we're just going to have this maybe in, let's say, h3, and here we will say 12 today. Today. Alright, so now we can style this, so give it some few utility classes. So the first thing is we're going to have it flex, and the text should be 5XL, or quite big. The font should be big, and for the color we are going to give it text a slate of 900, and on dark it should take what slate 50. Yeah, so it looks like things are not working for us at this point, so we need to one more time run this, although it's learning, but why is it not having this in a bigger size? Just a minute, because I need to head on to the documentation and grab this, delete that, and I'm going to have it learn one more time. Let me see if I learn it again, if it's going to fix that. Yeah, so you see, after learning that, now we have everything as would expect. I think it was a bit slow in learning the code, and I mean the utility classes, and maybe we were not able to see them live. So now that's working fine. For this, we are going to talk about class, and should have a padding top of 2, and the text should be green 500. So that should be it. So now we have the card being complete, and so as you can see, it's taking shape because we've already told it that on this specific breakpoint we should have 4. So this one is just taking the its available space and leaving the space for the other cards. And now because we have the space for the other cards, and remember that is courtesy of this, on this breakpoint we should have a grid having 4 columns. So now we can come to the card. If I can be able to come and grab this card here, and if we are lucky, if I pick this and duplicate it, we should have it there, like you can see. And if we take it to a different breakpoint, we should have it there. So we are just going to have 2 more. So Shift Alt arrow pointing downward, 2. So we have it like that. The space could be quite small. You can increase. Remember how we said gap of 2? You can come and change the gap so that maybe we have it. Let me see that gradient. No, that should be allowed where? Yeah. So we can maybe increase that to 4, for example. Yeah, and that should increase the space. We can have it with 3. That should have it like that. Maybe we can stick with that. So that is on a mobile. Remember this, we always work with mobile first, and then we now have the breakpoint. So now if I increase this, yeah, it's working fine, as you can see over there. But let me see if I include another extra card. What is going to happen that we already have 4, which is what we have said it should be. So let me see. Yeah, we're having it down there, which is working very fine for us. So if I try to stretch this, yeah, you can see it's still trying to have them in that in retaining the 4 cards, and if we keep on pushing that further, reducing that, it breaks to that. So yeah, that's working fine for us. I don't think we need the gap Y that I was talking about, but let's continue just in case we're going to require that. So we don't need them to be 5, we just need 4. So I'm just going to get rid of the extra one there, and what I'm just going to do real quick here is just now to have the data, just to change the data. That's quite simple. So let me just do that real quick, and then I'll be back to explain the remaining part. So now that we are done with that, that is these cards here, maybe we can include these SVG icons. So let me show you how we can have that. So in this section where we are having let me start with the first one. We have the first one here. We can come and we can come and include the image, and so we can go to images, and here we have the icon app. So we have it here, but now they are appearing in a column because by default the items will be aligned in a column, and so we should maybe come and talk about flex low. So that should have it in a low, and we should also come and talk about space X of 4. It's appearing to be quite big. I don't know why. Let me see. I don't know. It should not be that big anyway. Yeah, what's making it to? All right. We can also maybe talk about items center and justify center. Yeah, it looks awkward. I don't know why should it behave that way. I don't like how it is being aligned. Just give me a minute as I try to see. So we should have 2 divs here, so we can see this multiplied by 2 tab, so we can have 2 there can have one here right well in a low. As a second one here, we should have the text that automatically pushes that, or could be because of this padding top. Yeah, that's the one that just giving us issues here. So therefore we can have our image here, images, we can talk about up. Yeah, that's even working automatically. So what I can just do is I can grab this and I can have it replaced with that. So we get that, and so now in that case, for the space here, if you want the space, we can now come to the main div that is housing the two. That is this. Let me see if I padding top of 2. Yeah, so that's pushing that. So I should also come and have it on the other one, so that should be here. So PT of 2. Yeah. So I can grab it again, so I can replace the remaining ones. So like this one. Yeah, so don't mind about the numbers, the values, they're just some dummy numbers there, so no big issue about that. Maybe we can change these a little bit, so maybe we can talk of red, so maybe we can change these to down. Yeah, so that's better. So if we stretch that now, we should be able to get something like that. So yeah, that should be done. Maybe for the color, I think that was also affected. Red. Yeah, so that's working fine. Okay, so now we can move on to the other set of cards. So let me show you the picture here. So this one here, so it will be a similar thing, but we're just going to make it to have a different alignment sort of. So these ones are vertically, but these ones we're going to make them horizontal. So what I can do is I can come and pick this, and I'm going to hide it. Let me see that. And let me just test things a little bit here, and maybe section 2. Yeah, so we have that appearing there, quite good. So in fact the classes for this should be the same with this. So let me just grab it, grab that, and I'm going to have that here. Oh sorry, class of that. We will remove the margin top. We don't need the margin top for now. So that way we are going to expect it there. Maybe we can also talk about text slate of 800. On dark it should be text slate 50. Alright, so now we can go inside that div and now we can have the grid. So real quick, just get rid of that, and another div, and the class for that div will still be like this one because we still need a grid. So we grab that and we're going to have it here. Oh, sorry, forgetting the class, always class there. So right now, because we don't have anything, we're not of course seeing anything there. So now we can have the card. So we're going to have our card here. So this div should lap the card, should have a shout div there, and within this we're going to have page views, page views. We're going to have an image because as you can see we're having the page views and this icon. So within this div we're going to have two, so we can duplicate this, and basically here what we're just going to have is the image, and sorry, I've forgotten something. We're going to get to that in a second. So yeah, we need to before we have this grid we're going to have another container that's going to just have this text overview today. So we can have that here real quick, like overview today, and we can style it a little bit, like we can give it flex. Maybe we can talk about MY of something like 4. Yeah, and we can maybe talk about the font being bold, and maybe the text of 3XL, was it? The first one here, we give it. Alright, that's quite big. Let me stick with 2. Overview today, dashboard. Alright, let's just have it with 2. Yeah, so that's better. So we can head on back to the grid now, this one, and we are now done with the first container here. And so now the next thing that we need to have is these 2, which should be a similar thing. So I'm going to grab this and duplicate it, and now instead of having page views, we'd have it 7 and 3%. So here maybe we can talk over paragraph, and then we say 3%. This should be 2. Maybe we can have this in a span. This is where we are going to have the image. So like we can talk of images and we pick the icon up like that, and so this one we can change it to 88. Yeah, now we can style the card. So first all these items should flex in a column. The padding top and bottom should be 5. On a mobile it should take a width of full, and we should have on this breakpoint of MD, we should have it with M auto. For the BG on a right theme should be white, but on dark theme should be BG slate 800. So there you have that. Of course should be loaded. MD should work. Yeah, so things are taking shape there. Let's now come to this, but before we get there, these items are too close to the margin. Yeah, so let me see in this grid. Yes, we said. Alright, let's first of all see. So class, and the first thing is to flex, and we want to have them justify between. Remember this one we said it's going to have a space, just create a space between the target items, and justify between, and we should have a padding of 5. Alright, that was meant to, that was meant to push them from top, right, and left, and also bottom. So we have some space on top, we have some space on the right, on the left, and the bottom. Alright, so that's fine, and we should also say that this one should take a text of slate on a light theme. This one should be 800. On dark, this one should take slate text slate 850. And this one we can let's just have it without it's fine looking that way, so we don't need to add any class for the icon. We also don't need to add any class. So now we can head on to this other card. So class, first of all, flex, have them justify between, so we have some space between them. So justify between, padding all loaded of 5, and as usual the text should be slate 800 on light theme, and on dark theme should be text slate 800 rather 50 again. Alright, so that's fine, and now we can have this, which are these two. So for these ones, they should again flex. That's flexing, that's having them in a low, flex low. It's having none of that. Alright, space x of 4. Alright, they're in a row, but looks like we need to have them centered. So justify center items center. So that fixes that, and finally we can come to this and give it a text of green. $500. Alright, that's better, but maybe we can reduce the space between them. 2 should work. Yeah. And for the 88, we can talk of font being semi-bold. The text size should be 2XL, and this one should take, as usual, 800, and dark should be text slate 50. Yeah, and I think that's it. Yeah, should have it look like that. Let me have it on a different break point. Yeah, we have it working fine. So now you get the idea. So we can now just duplicate that card, and that will be it. So just grab that card and have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have them being 4. Maybe we can have 3 more. So just grab these ones again. 1, 2, 3. And so that's what we got. So if I keep on increasing, that should be in that view. If I push it to that length, we have it like that. That length, we have it like that, or that breakpoint. At this breakpoint, we need to have this. Alright, but you got the idea. So that's how we can be able to have that over there. Let me see if I have it in full screen here. Go to the developer tools. Yep. Alright. Same thing. Alright, so let me show you one more thing that has to do with this right thing. Let me try to head on to settings here, and as you can see right now, the theme for the system is dark. As you can see, I want to change it to light and see if that is going to change anything on my dashboard. So I'm going to head on to personalization here, and I think should be themes, and here I can change to, and as you can see, it changes to the light, because by default what Tailwind is going to do is it is going to pick the it's going to like take the default theme for your system, and that's what it's going to use. As you can notice, this one did not materialize very well, because maybe we don't have the dark and light theme specified. Let me try to head on there and see. Should be this one. Yeah, it's this one. You see, it only has the BG of slate. and so we need to maybe specify that this one should be when it's dark, and so when it's not dark, what should be the background color? When it's light, that is. So we can talk of BG select 300. Not quite. Yeah, I was expecting to see that there, but it's not changing anything at all. So this should change. Oh yeah, it's taking its time to have that. So therefore, that being that, we can reduce it a little bit, maybe to 300. Just give it time to process that. So that should be it. Yeah, that's better. And maybe we can also change this so that it's a bit darker. So you see we don't have that the dark. So we can talk about dark, and this should be select 800. That is text. Yes, so that should be it. It's taking some time to process the CSS there. Alright, but that should be it. So that is on the light theme. So for this, for you to be able to use this button to toggle between light and dark theme, you need to add some JavaScript. You need to add some JavaScript for this button to work. But if you don't want to manually toggle between light and dark theme, you can just be using the system default theme. Alright, so it is taking some time. I wanted to see if this should change, but most definitely it should change. It's only that it's taking some time to process this. I don't know. Yeah, so if I come back here and now I switch to the dark theme, should also have that switch to dark theme. Oh, wait a minute, we have a problem. This one should be the other way around. No, it is not working. This one should be 50. Yeah, should be like that. So that means if I switch to the light theme here, yeah, it should be like that. So working fine. I don't know which theme you prefer. For me, I prefer the dark. I don't know, the light theme looks so bright for me. Yeah, so, and that's how you can be able to create a simple dashboard. So the only thing that it doesn't have is the side menu. Right, so that's it. See you in the next one.